Hello, everybody. Welcome to Real Reviews, and this time you'll see that we're doing something a little bit different. We're coming to you live from Red Books in Peter Square. Now, we just had all of us. So, tonight, please bear with us if we have any technical challenges. We're technically challenged enough with this guy here. Other than that, tonight will be hosted by Steve on the end. We are very honored to have Wally from Red Books with us, and thanks again, Wally, for letting us come here. We have Michael with us, and then you have yourself, John Michael. Tonight's show is all about books that have been made into movies, good ones, bad ones, everything like that. And as you saw there when we came on, we'll quickly go back. We do have a couple of audience here with us. Say hello, guys. So what we'll do is, Steve, over to you.
Thanks. So it's very interesting, this place, Wally. I think there's 250,000 books here the last time I remember. And how long have you been open here now, actually?
We're opened here in Peter Square since 2019. So, and yeah, it's great to have you guys here. It's great to see the Real Reviews Initiative, another brilliant creative project out of Wexford. Like, this place just keeps knocking it out of the park. It's fantastic. And I've been watching your back episodes. So.
Oh dear.
Try not to judge us by them.
Yeah, try not to judge us by them.
But the interesting thing about this place as well is it was actually a video rental shop when we were growing up.
Larry
Kinsel's videos. Rented out horror movies, no problem at all. If there was any type of romantic element, you weren't allowed.
Yeah. So, I got The Exorcist when I was way too young to be watching The Exorcist.
We were allowed as much blood and gore as we wanted, but if you had someone kissing on screen, you weren't allowed.
No, too puritanical. Jason was okay, but anyone else knew. You actually have here, not only with the books, you also have a Nerd Up here as well.
We do. So we have a Nerd Up section, which is a great business run by Shane Hurley, and who sells nerd merchandise, I guess, and comics.
What we have here is an 8mm video of Ali Fraser's second fight. So I'd like to take that away, but I don't have it in the place. You do, Mike.
I do. It's broken at the moment, but I'm working on it.
That's it.
We'll get it.
Oh, we'll eventually.
We like to think that this place is a black hole where you can find anything. So not always things you're looking for, not always things you want. But
no. It's got pretty much like any book you can think of, you can find it here.
And one of my favorite things about coming in here is, Buddy, you've seen me coming in a lot with my kids, and the kids just straight to the kids area, and they sit down, they get lost in it. So there's something for absolutely everybody here.
Absolutely.
Before we go on anymore, what we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of trivia on tonight's show. All right. Just little links to authors, and sorry, I just take these earphones off. Authors, movies, and stuff like that people mightn't have necessarily realized were. Sorry, now I'm jumping around here. Were connected with Wexford, and so our first little bit of trivia is: can anyone name the connection between County Wexford and the author Alexander Dumas? Now, we'll come back to it in a little bit.
Yeah,
we know you do, but maybe some of the viewers mightn't. But we'll come back to it after we talk about our first movie. So, first movie, big one, going for the big 5-0 this year. And it was really the start of the summer blockbusters. And that was Jaws. So, obviously, Jaws started as a book.
Did indeed. It was Peter Benchley wrote it, and there's actually an interesting topic of when Steven Spielberg first saw it. It was on either his agent's desk or someone in the lot, and he thought it was like a dentist book. So that was the interesting part of it. So it's one of the things with it is Peter Benchley actually shows up in the film as a journalist, actually in it, or doing the TV broadcast part, but the interesting part of it is when you read the book, there's a lot in it that doesn't really fit in with the story. So you have the likes of Hooper is in the film, played brilliantly by Richard Dreyfuss, who's your classic kind of college kind of geek kind of guy, and has a brilliant relationship with Brody. Very brotherly kind of moments. They get on each other's nerves. They're looking out for each other. But in the book, it was very different. He was after Mrs. Brody. So there were quite a few.
And the fun thing about the book as well is they weren't expecting it to be a big hit. So I think they bought the rights to the book for something like $150,000 at the time. And the incentive as well was, I think Peter Benchley got an extra $30,000 to write the screenplay.
Got rewrote, thankfully.
Yeah.
Well, if you think of the Indianapolis speech, for example, that speech came from, what's his name? He wrote Conan the Barbarian. He adapted that. Sorry, name escapes me now. John Milius. He wrote that. So
I tell you what, just so we all have a little bit of a reminder, let's go and see
There is a
the
creature
original short
alive today
trailer.
who has survived millions of years of evolution without change, without passion, and without logic. It lives to kill. A mindless eating machine. It will attack and devour anything. It is as if God created the devil and gave him jaws. From the best-selling novel, Jaws.
I mean, how simple of a trailer can you make?
yeah,
But it hit the nerve.
really does.
With-
Look at that poster as well. What an improvement over the cover of the book.
Yeah, that's quite true.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. It's I mean, one of the big successes to Jaws was the fact that everything was going wrong on it.
Yeah.
Bad weather,
Yeah.
Bruce the shark not always working,
Yeah.
and so it forced
Robert
Spielberg.
Shaw as well, don't forget.
Well,
Brilliant
yeah.
performance, but wasn't always
Wasn't
in the
working
right
either,
spot.
It wasn't always. Actually, funnily enough, anybody who is a fan of Jaws,
Yeah.
it is in July, actually, in the Gate Theatre. July.
May, I think, isn't it?
Sorry,
Well,
this summer.
we're going anyway.
We're going to it,
Yeah, we're
supposedly.
going. I better look it up. We have to take it. There is a play called The Shark is Broken.
Yep.
And it's all based on Jaws behind the scenes with the three guys. And the man actually playing Richard Dreyfuss,
Yeah. Or Robert Shaw.
or Robert Shaw's
Quince,
character is Robert Shaw's son.
Mm.
And he's identical to him. So that's going to be quite a good one. But anyway, back to the movie. When you look at that poster, as you were saying, it was so simple. And you just had to wonder what that poor girl was going to be in for next. And well,
I know where this
unfortunately,
is
it was a
going.
little bit less further.
Yeah, her name was Susan Backlini. Very nice lady. I met her in the Birmingham Collectormania Comic Con a few years ago, and I actually was talking to her about it, and she signed one of the posters for me, but she actually hurt her back pretty badly. They had like a harness on her because they were pulling her.
I remember
Back
them
and
saying they
forth.
didn't tell her.
Yeah, and that's what she said, and it did actually do some damage to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, got to meet me in the unrelated matter. She died a few years later, but
Not from a shark.
Or me. So,
You sure about that?
I hope so.
But I mean, like we said, the whole fact is one of the things that makes Jaws so good was the fact that the shark didn't work all the time. So it really forced them to kind of take the shark out of the film and go more with those shots. But I mean, of just swimming,
It's just
the water. That's the suggestion of the POV of the shark. But I mean, when the shark was there, now it looks a bit dated. But I mean, back then,
Oh, it's. I mean, I know the bit with the chow, and like gonna need a bigger boat. That's the big reveal, really.
Yeah,
wasn't
it
it?
is really.
But even before that, when you see just when he's going into the pool and ends up, biting the guy who's in the boat.
you just see that little profile under the water of it.
Review
It's
the
absolutely.
shadow going across.
it's-
But I mean, the other big thing about Jaws is obviously it made one person's
yeah,
career,
it's actually
Mr. Spielberg.
absolutely. And actually, one of the authors we might mention later, Richard Madison, he was Jewel, remember? And it's actually, Jewel is actually in Jaws. You know the sound of the truck going over the cliff at the end of Jewel?
Yeah.
that's where the shark's going on. You heard a roar.
Oh yeah.
That's from Jules. So
Okay.
little piece of trouble for me.
Sound guys waste nothing, you know yourself.
Oh, reuse as much as
We
you
know
can.
that one, yeah, we know that one.
He's calling me a sound guy. But Wally, have you ever read the Jaws book or?
Yeah, I
What's
have.
in with yours?
It's kind of strange, but I tie it in with another nautical book, Moby Dick. That there's a lot of waste in it, which the movie managed to streamline. There's a famous chapter in Moby Dick which basically describes ropes.
Yeah.
And Moby Dick was a book, obviously a classic. People love it. I don't like it, and I found it extremely difficult to read, and I abandoned it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And Jaws, similarly, there was that famous chapter about the affair, which had nothing to do with what people wanted to read about the shark. So it kills me to say it, but I would have to say that the movie is probably better than the book, although the book has its place. It definitely has its place. If you like that kind of, and there was such great books made of those kind of pulp books at that time.
It's like I think because they had in the book they have about like the mafia connections. It's why
Yeah.
the beaches are staying open, and you don't really need
You don't.
need that.
You don't.
Because once you get them onto the boat, it's like you have these three amazing characters. So yeah, I think so.
There is that kind of thing, I suppose, that eventually would claim later that he was trying to talk about a town that had bigger problems than just a shark. Which I don't think people wanted to read about that, though. That was the unfortunate problem.
We just wanted to know why not to go into the water.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. Strangely enough, the main character was based off a real life shark hunter who, when I heard that first, I thought, wow, this must have been the guy who went around slaying sharks that were caught. But no, he just hunted sharks and ate them. So he wasn't really that noble of a character.
Yeah.
Considering the real name of the shark was Bruce, is that why the shark is called Bruce in Finding Nemo?
Most
I
likely.
never know.
Yeah,
Whichever it is.
it's for anyway,
question.
so
Yeah.
Good question.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it was named after Spielberg's lawyer.
He was,
Oh.
that's it, yeah.
That was the original story behind it.
So we could say that's a really good adaptation, but like there's been so many others when you think about it too.
Yeah. So, we'll go back to our bit of trivia. The connection between County Wexford and Alexander Dumas, or as some people in Wexford would say, Dumas,
Yes.
as they would say,
Shawshank Redemption too. Yeah.
is of course the Count of Monte Cristo.
Which
filmed in-
somebody was working
Yeah, you know a little bit about that.
Ah, it gave me a lovely holiday. I was working in the UK at the time and told, come home, you're filming.
Well, you rode a boat all the way from Ireland to Malta, didn't you, in fairness?
That's what, we started it in British Bay.
There you go.
When we eventually got ashore, it was Duncannon. And somewhere in between, we were in Malta.
Mm.
It was funny. My involvement in that movie was I was a what was called a trade extra, so old sailor, and it was we were so we were brought back. That very first kind of 10 seconds in the film, where you see the boat rowing ashore, is actually 3 different locations, and it really kind of showed you the amount of work that goes into these films with the different. It was, here we are rowing ashore in British Bay. Then Napoleon's fort was Duncannon Fort, and then they did all the close-ups. It was in a special effects tank in Malta. But you know something? It was a really good film, underrated by a director, Kevin Reynolds, who unfortunately hasn't done a lot since, but he was known for Waterworld.
He's supposed to work on Tombstone.
Yeah, and one of the best ones that I loved him for was Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh, yeah.
I always thought he was an amazing director to bring back classic films into a modern tale. So that's our little bit of trivia on that. We'll kind of go into our next book. I don't think we have a lot to say about the book, though.
I think, you know something, the more you talk about the book of American Psycho, the less you'll probably want to see it. So maybe we should see a clip of it first, John?
I think my mask of sanity is about to slip. If you stay, something bad will happen. Sabrina, why don't you dance a little? Christy, get down on your knees.
Can we go now?
We're not through yet. I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane? Do you have any witnesses or fingerprints?
Actually, yes.
Very nice.
I don't want to get bruised. You're inhuman.
I know my behavior can be erratic. I need to engage in homicidal behavior on a massive scale.
Hey, Paul!
So what do?
I'm into murders and executions mostly. I had to kill a lot of people!
So yeah, I mean, I think after you see that, you really want to watch the movie. But the funny thing about the book was, it came out in 1991, but it's really about 1980s excesses. And it's interesting because it was Bret Easton Ellis's third book, and the main character, Patrick Bateman, is actually the older brother of the main character from The Rules of Attraction. But I have to say, I do really like the book, but the film is just that much better because when you're reading the book, I think you're not really sure what's...
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the film, you really do tend to believe that a lot of this is happening in Bateman's head, whereas the book, Bateman is most likely an unreliable narrator, but Ellis doesn't give us any indication. There's no nod to the real world that you would get with some other unreliable narrators in fiction, and you kind of go along with it. So it just gets madder and madder, but you kind of think, no, maybe he is having that firefight with the cops, you know, and even with surrealist scenes. I think at one point he's watching a morning show and there's a potato chip being interviewed or something, if I remember, and it's just all taken as something normal. Now the thing about Bateman, I think, in the book is that he's a more pathetic character, and maybe that's down to Bale. Bale makes him cooler. Even when you get the famous scene with the business cards,
yes, in Boston. Yeah.
I think he just comes across much more pathetic in that scene, and he's very disheartened that, you know, my business card is not the shit, as he puts it, and you know, and his OCD comes out a lot more. But it's a phenomenal character.
Yeah, I mean, like the book as well. There's some of the scenes are so brutal.
Yeah,
like there's two stand out to me. One is where he kills the child in the zoo, and he describes the mother kind of like in her reaction. It was like an animal, and that was hard. But then there's one horrific scene where he's blinding a homeless guy in the alley and goes in detail about, you know, the knife. Oh, it was horrific. And I remember turning the page. And he's talking about a Genesis album, for like 2 pages, and I was going, what am I reading? But the film, you have like, even in the film, you have like Willem Dafoe, the bit where he's interrogating the shoot 3 different ways. So one party's like, he's friendly, and then another party's like, oh, you know, I'm suspicious, and then the third party's unsure. But it's all mixed in, those 3 takes are mixed into it. So
with the movie, like, I feel that I haven't read the book, but I really feel in the movie it's probably one of the best psychological, because it's not just Bateman.
Yeah,
it's as you said, it's Defoe's character. You see that little bit, and then as you were saying, talk about the Genesis album. You know, still one of my favorite scenes in it is, of course, was Huey Lewis. Yeah,
I was about to mention that.
And you would think to yourself, okay, he's a serial killer. You know, he's psychotic. So many actors would just play that as creepy and all that.
Yeah.
But that little shuffle walk he does, dancing across, and you're like, what? Where?
Yeah, but that kind of made the film. And you were saying that the movie is, what do you say, it's a bit more obvious that, you know, you're in his head. I actually had to explain that to people after the film. They were, what was that all about? You know, what's going on here? Oh, God.
One of the big things about it is originally as well, the director,
Mary Herron.
yeah, she always wanted Christian Bale, but the studio wanted Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, no, that was not.
I think Oliver Stone was told it at one time, wasn't he?
Yeah, because she left.
Yeah.
And then eventually it was all falling apart, and she was asked to come back. And the story I had read was, "I'll come back if I have Christian."
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well, he kind of makes the film, though, really, doesn't he? I don't think anyone else could have played that.
no, exactly. So, what would you class? I presume listening to it, then you're definitely going to class that as one of the better.
I think it's a really good adaptation. It gets the satire so good, like in comparison, like it's almost a case of it really refines what was there in the book, and it gives like it's almost like having read the book, what can I really kind of make a little bit better? That's really it. So yeah, I think it keeps the spirit of it and expands it a bit more. So that's so I guess the question is, what makes a good adaptation, Wally?
Yeah. Well, I guess I'd find it difficult to say that the film is better than the book in that scenario, and I'd have it with a couple of books. I mean, I love Trainspotting. I love the book and I love the film, but they're two completely different animals. I know with American Psycho they're closer together, but both are just works of art, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's anything you could go to the book of American Psycho and say I'd change that. I think it's just it's perfect as it is.
Sure.
And but it's a strange thing, isn't it? What makes the perfect adaptation?
It is, and I think some of the examples we're going to talk about now as well, it's where the film and the book, if the film gets the spirit of the book right, maybe try something slightly different. That's where we really works out well. Say, for example, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, for example. That's one where the book follows Chief, his perspective.
Yeah.
And if you watch the film, you're almost like, the book's from his perspective, because we're following R.P. McMurphy, Jack Nicholson's character, and getting to know everyone else, getting to know Billy, getting to know Nurse Ratched, but from McMurphy's perspective. So in that way, that's the brilliant thing Ken Kesey did was, that Milos Forman did when he adapted Ken Kesey's book was, he said, I'm not going to do it from Chiefs. I'm going to change perspective and tell the story that way. So that way, they're a good companion piece. I think
hiring Jack Nicholson to do that. Can't look at from Chief's perspective straight away. Then you have to go by what Jack Nicholson is doing.
Well, you see, because you're going to sit there and look at it and go, no matter what character Nicholson's going to play, he's just going to bring you to him, and that's it. You know.
And like when you watch it, like Danny DeVito's in it. You know, Brad Dourif, it's his breaking turn as Billy. You know, and you have even Michael Berryman, you know, from like Hills Have Eyes and all. He's just a character in it too. You know, it's a great cast. Absolutely brilliant, so it is. Yeah.
You have another one there as well, Steve. To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've got to say, I read unlike you guys, I did not read the book in school. We were reading The Key or Hard Times instead.
I think that was the one that we saw here a couple of weeks ago.
The Key, yeah.
I think wasn't that pronounced a K because it was.
That's it. But To Kill a Mockingbird. I read it after watching the film, and the thing I didn't like was similar to what you're saying with Jaws. There was a lot of excess in it.
Yeah,
like you had Atticus Finch, you had his brother, and all that sort of stuff in this. And when you watch the film, it's purely from Scout's perspective. Not beautiful open Robert Mulligan shot of like the kid kind of drawing on the lines and all, and it goes to. You have Gregory Peck, and that's all the fantastic roles he's played. You know, gunfighter, through to every like the Omen, everything else. Guns from Navarone. He's Atticus Finch. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's just. And when I read the book, I hear his voice, and then you have, of course, great supporting cast. Brock Peters, as brilliant as Tom, and then of course Robert Duvall, Boo Radley.
Great actor.
Yeah.
So. And then up next, kind of getting more back into Michael's reign of being here, where
Why is
somebody
that
has
now?
to, it's that person we keep calling to get
All
you.
right, yeah,
The
okay,
Exorcist.
yeah. Yeah, I don't care what the book is like. The movie is amazing. I don't care.
You know something? I'll be honest. I love the book. I really do. The film, I think, is better.
With or without the crab.
The Crab Walk.
Yeah.
The Crab Walk's good.
Yeah, I
But
think
I'll
it is
tell you
good.
What's interesting about it though is the book's written by William Peter Blatty and it's based on the case of Mount Rainier and all that. But he's a believer. He believes in God and he's that. Then you have William Friedkin who took a documentary look at him. He's like it's either atheist or agnostic, and he brought his look. So he actually had this different look at the story to it. And that's where, like when you watch The Exorcist, the most scary thing to me, other than the subliminal shots that he has and all that, is where they're actually doing the tests on her and they're like tapping the throat and everything. Like that was because that's what Friedkin brought to it. And I thought, spot on. He added layers to us that weren't there.
He's an absolute genius, right?
Oh yeah.
And the thing is, when you look at it, when they were filming it, their entire marketing came down to one shot, which I think I remember him saying that it was a lucky shot that they got. It wasn't planned, which is of course what you see on the screen there.
Famous picture. And that's actually, I think there was a painting as well that he was hoping to emulate with that, but it is. You put it up before, Mike, on the Facebook.
That's
actually,
right, yeah.
Probably the most famous picture in cinema. Certainly for us.
It's a fantastic. I love the way they even tie it back to Megiddo and things like that to make it kind of, almost biblical in a sense. At the very start of it. I love this movie.
Oh yeah.
And of course, the innocence of Reagan.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it just can't beat that really.
So much in that film.
And then don't forget it did come out to be repossessed.
Did it? That's
true.
Yeah.
It was repossessed. Yes.
That was good too. That was good too.
Leslie Nielsen, what can I say?
It did spin a whole
a
good few spoofs.
And of course sold pea soup like it was going out of fashion.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Then we're going to go back to someone we kind of touched on a little bit earlier. That is Moby Dick.
Oh, God love us. This is one of the best parts, and I agree with you, Wally. Like when I started reading this, the opening of it was actually basically a whaler's manual. So you're there going like, what? But one of the best things about this was Ray Bradbury, the famous writer himself, did Something with This with Combs, Dandelion Wine, and Martian Chronicles, and so many other stories. He adapted this, and how he adapted that script from Moby Dick, I don't know, but it really is. And again, Gregory Peck, I was just saying, Atticus Finch always, but he's terrific as Ahab as well, wasn't he?
I'd be honest with you now, I wouldn't have been a massive Gregory Peck fan, but as Ahab, I don't think at the time they could have had a better actor.
Although Orson Welles actually plays the preacher in it, and he gives a fantastic oration in it. And he always said about Gregory Peck, he said, bad actor, but great president.
Well, again, like when I think back of a lot of movies, from a nautical background with my family, obviously Moby Dick and all would have been on the TV. But ever since I can remember, that one shot that I always remember is Gregory Peck at the end, tied to the whale and taking him away.
And the one thing I always remember, that is amazing, absolutely amazing ending to it, but I always remember Queequeg, like Ishmael's friend hurt her, and when he's throwing the bones, it's like, no, he's going to die, and he's just sitting there, and one of the others is actually cutting him. He's not moving until one of them tries to hurt Ishmael, and he comes out. I always remember that from being a kid. Although I did watch it very young, and I always got it mixed up with 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Another great one. It is. We're going to come up a little bit in time now.
I have to admit, the best thing they did with that film is taking Tom Bombadil out of it.
Oh my
God!
They gave one of Tom Bombadil as a character in Fellowship of the Ring. And they actually took one of his lines, gave to Treebeard in Two Towers. But you're right, though. I think it's a great adaptation. It really kept the spirit of Tolkien much better than the Rings of Power show has. But they actually adapted the books, took a lot from the appendices as well. But it was really done in a way where it's like, we're going to keep this. We're going to give some of the lines to Frodo because it's a movie and all. But they actually, they just from the opening where it has like basically something from the Silmarillion, a different book where it has the first battle against Sauron. It's fantastic, and it's just relentless throughout.
It's absolutely amazing what they did with it. I have to admit, it blew me away the second I saw it. Absolutely.
I have to admit, once I saw it, it was kind of like, that's enough for me. I'm not going to be sitting back down and watching it again. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. I was like, I haven't got
4 hours.
I haven't got that long left.
4 hours. I did a 12-hour stint recently.
Oh,
I did actually do.
before
And
too,
the next day I did. No, the day before I did a 9-hour stint on
Oh
the
dear
Hobbit.
God, yeah.
I had nothing better to do. What can I say?
But I think when it comes to adaptations, it's like, as you said, like it takes 3 books, puts them into these 3 films, as long as the films are and all, but it cuts certain parts, but if it keeps true to the ideas of it and doesn't try to mess it around too much.
I think an important thing with it was Jackson's love for the source material, though, which shines through. He wasn't just trying to make money. This was a passion.
Well, I mean, originally the studios wanted them to put all 3 into one movie.
Oh God!
And there was
12-hour movie.
2 at one point. It was I know that was Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah,
he was saying like 2 movies. Then it was actually, I think it was just New Line Cinema said, look, 3 books, 3 movies.
Yeah,
lucky.
3
lucky.
paydays.
And then did 1 book, 3 movies.
It's not good.
The Hobbit. Oh yeah, well, can we make that into 3 films? Yeah.
Then we have something that we're going to go a little bit more classic with. Actually, Steve, you've got it in front of you there.
Oh, Stand By Me.
I've not seen it.
This is you probably can't see it here. We have a book there, Different Seasons by Stephen King. It's 4 novellas. It's actually 3 of them have been adapted into movies. 2 are all-time classics. One is Rita Hayworth in The Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Shawshank, and the other one is The Body, which was adapted in Stand By Me. And then third one is Apt Pupil, which was made into a film with Ian McKellen, favorite of ours, of course, and Brad Renfro, adapted by Bryan Singer. And then the 4th one, the reading method, I haven't done yet, but Stand By Me, you have to say it really does capture the spirit of the story, but it's more than anything, it's a timeless classic. Like, you can watch this in 20 years' time.
It still stands now.
Yeah. At
the end of the day, the core of it is 4 friends.
It's coming of age. What's that line? One day you all went out to play for the last time. None of you knew it.
Yeah.
That's this film.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a little bit of a tear in the eye when River Phoenix disappears.
Yeah. And that's the thing as well, as you look at it as well and look at the 4 cast members.
Yeah.
They were, again, they couldn't have been better.
Oh, they couldn't have been. And of course, you had Kiefer Sutherland as Ace Merrill. It's his just before Lost Boys.
If we need a bad guy in the 80s, a young teenage knockabout.
Like Kiefer Sutherland or William Zabka,
Star Trek ruined that film for me, and that's why I haven't seen it.
I
saw Wesley Crusher. I love Star Trek, don't get me wrong. I saw Wesley Crusher, and I'm not watching that film.
Then, Steve, you got a couple of honourable mentions there.
One I'd have to say is, of course, I'm going to give a shout out here to Shane with Nerd Up. War of the Worlds from 1953. This was adapted from H.G. Wells, and it's great. Of course, there's a remake in 2005, which I still think is excellent too.
Tom Cruise one, wasn't it?
Cruise,
yeah, that's a great movie.
But if you grew up in the 80s like I did, anytime you watched a cartoon that had a laser blast, it was taken from this movie. It was the Tripods in the movie. And it's
there's a Wexford connection.
Oh, there you go, Sean. Other than it's for sale from Nerd Up for €6. That's the Western connection.
You want to see the Western
Nerd
connection?
Up in Red Books, yeah.
Al Ferguson, an actor who plays the sheriff in it.
Oh, yeah.
1888 was born in Rosslare.
Oh, wow. Oh, excellent.
Died in 1976.
Well,
he was the go-to bad guy in the 20s, 30s.
Yeah.
He appeared alongside John Wayne, I think, about 6 or 7 times.
Oh, wow. Excellent.
And stuff like
that.
Rio
Bravo or anything? Or?
Nope. It was a lot of John Wayne's earlier films.
Oh, right.
So,
Pre-Stagecoach, is it?
Yeah. Kind of things. But yeah, there's another actor who did really well for himself and has a small cameo on that. I don't think he's even credited in it.
That's a pity.
But actually, let me just check something here. But again, it is an absolutely great movie.
Yep.
And it was an absolutely great story.
Oh, it is.
Here we go. I have an image of it.
Yeah.
Of him.
Oh, fantastic!
There you go.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
There he is. Yeah.
So,
That's good.
no. So who says Wexford people don't get out there?
That's very true.
Well, we did. Zorro did come from us as well. So.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Like, notice the way a lot of troublemakers come from Rosslare.
They
Come
do,
from
actually,
Rosslare.
yeah.
Sorry, not Rosslare.
Don't go to Rosslare soon, right?
No. So, but I think I also have an image. Now, I thought it was linking back to one of our earlier trivia, because there he is himself with John Wayne. And that was in the Three Musketeers,
Yeah.
which wasn't at first when I was looking it up. I thought, is that another Alexander
Dumas.
Dumas version? But it wasn't. It was John Wayne was playing a character called Tom Wayne, so you really had to push it out there.
Well, his son
Probably
plays
couldn't
Sinbad
remember
as
the
well,
surname,
so,
it was different.
Yeah.
Uh,
So good Wexford connection. There is another Wexford connection with the musical version of War of the Worlds.
Jeff Wayne's, yeah.
The Jeff Wayne's one, which is
the definitive version of War of the Worlds, as far as I'm concerned.
yeah. Well, I mean, anybody who had a good taste in music,
Yeah.
would obviously know it, and did know Phil Lynott playing Parson Nathaniel.
David Essex.
But when Jeff Wayne's did the new generation version,
Yeah.
Parson Nathaniel was played by Maverick Safer from
Oh,
New Ross.
New Ross.
And
Told
I
you
have
something
to
good
say-
came from New Ross, didn't I? Good. There
Something
you
had
go.
to.
I have to say, he actually did a really good job. I must admit, I'm a massive Jeff Wayne's fan.
Yeah, no,
the
it's
War of the Worlds fan, and
you
I've been
never.
to see it every time it's
Thunderchild, yeah.
and it's always the person and the artilleryman are always the two characters that blow me away. You cast someone and be like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to do a good job, and they always do. So there's two connections with H.G. Wells and County Wexford.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to say, like, there's another adaptation I always loved was First Blood. I love the book by David Morrell. It's a brilliant book, but
Film's fantastic.
film's fantastic. But the thing with it is the book is an absolute bloodbath. It's literally like what if rage was unleashed.
Which is what Stallone started doing later.
Yeah, where Stallone played really restrained and he's more sympathetic and it's
That's
good.
all. Yeah, Stallone
Yeah.
was brilliant on that, actually.
So yeah.
Well, then we have.
They were the good adaptations. So what about the bad adaptations? Maybe that's the next thing.
No.
Twilight. No, not going there.
That was actually a good adaptation, just not a bad. Not
I
a good film,
know.
not a good book. But Blade Runner, there's a bad adaptation.
Great movie.
Oh, it is.
Great movie.
Absolutely.
My all-time favorite film of all time, and I think The Void was the number one science fiction movie.
Yeah. Well, the thing that always strikes me about Blade Runner is I'm a big fan of Philip K. Dick, and he died 6 months before Blade Runner came out.
Right.
And
I didn't know that.
and anyone who knows Philip K. Dick's story will know that it's a fascinating story. But he lived in abject poverty all his life, and Blade Runner was the first thing that made it big. And all of like what sci-fi owes to Philip K. Dick, modern sci-fi. Most of the the big blockbusters of the 90s and 90s were based on Philip K. Dick premises.
You think he would have liked it?
No, probably not. But it would have been difficult to please him, I think.
No, I think so.
I just think the film is absolutely iconic. It's staggering and everything. Even now, it's relevant.
It's funny because like when you read the book and it starts off and Deckard has a wife and she's actually self-medicating like to kind of do the life, and all he wants is to own an owl. It's like about the prestige of it almost. And whereas you watch the film and the film's about she won't live, but then who does? It's like that's so much more to it.
Well, I have to admit, everybody goes on about Harrison Ford in that film, but without Rutger Hauer, the film wouldn't be half as
I like
good.
Edward James Olmos in it as well, actually.
No, yes. She
And
won't live, as you just said.
I remember when I was the one time I did sit down and watch it, and it wasn't because of Harrison Ford. It was Rutger Hauer.
Hey,
Oh,
there you
yeah.
go. There you
Tears
go.
in the Rain.
He's staggeringly good in it.
And he wrote that. He wrote that himself, actually. I've seen sea beams glittering in the dark and Shore of Rye. Yeah,
Rutger Hauer wrote that?
he did. Yeah.
What living God was he on that night?
You're next on your list.
Shining.
Oh, we're back to Jack again.
Well, like you said, it's actually, this is interesting because it's not a good adaptation of the book. The
It's
book's more of
completely
a
different,
ghost
isn't it?
story, isn't it, Wally?
Yeah.
And like you have like the topiary animals and all that kind of come like. Whereas the film, it's like, I know Stephen King famously hated it because he said it's like a beautiful car with no engine and the hood. But it's more like the interesting thing with the film is it's about like his descent into madness, and when you see him straight away, he's a little bit off kilter.
He is, yeah.
You know, whereas like the book was a good man who, you know, kind of the evil of the house and the kind of like the ghosts and all. It's almost like his version of The Haunting of Hill House. Like King was a big fan of Shirley Jackson, so.
But now a bit like, you know, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Would it have been as big without Jack Nicholson? I mean, Jack's Jack. He doesn't really act. He's the same in everything, but we love him. But he's brilliant. But would it have been the same without him?
It's Kubrick.
Yeah, it's three elements to the film that made it so good, and that was Kubrick, Nicholson, and Shelley Duvall.
Oh,
Shelley Duvall was very good. In fairness, yeah.
Here's actually, what's the Blade Runner Shining connection? Do you remember the original ending of Blade Runner has them driving into the Colorado? That's the opening of The Shining. They used the footage from The Shining for that.
Again, don't waste anything, really.
Now, again, there's going to be somebody out there who's going to think of a multiverse story that will link the two of those together.
Yeah.
Go there.
That's the work.
How is it linked to Kevin Bacon? That's the question.
If you got men, Jack Nicholson, there you go.
Oh.
Don't be challenged.
I
Keep telling you.
I know.
No, but it's a great film, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I do think that Jack is
really is a
an
major
important part.
presence in it.
Yeah.
But even, I mean, the iconic drive up to the hotel and the music that's playing and the way it's following. I mean, even though it's the opening credits, you're compelled to watch it almost, aren't you? You just, the whole time you're compelled to watch it. And of course, Hong Kong Phooey was in it too.
Actually, when I met Susan Baccalini as well from Jaws, I met the twins from The Shining. And it scared the heck out of me. Two lovely ladies, absolutely lovely British ladies, and said, we used to actually holiday in Kilmuckridge there. And I thought, oh gosh.
You weren't young at the time, were you? Because I was. Be terrifying.
You can just imagine walking through Kilmuckridge and two.
Yeah, I just say, come play with us.
So, next on your list then is The Running Man.
Arnie.
Yeah, staying with Stephen King. There's a new film coming out, of course. It's going to be more like the actual book. Like I can say about the book originally by Stephen King as Richard Bachman back in 1982. It's like The Fugitive. The film is like The Gladiator set in space. Well, future.
Wasn't too many pugil sticks in it though, really.
No, well, you had Mick Fleetwood as a rebel leader. So
I'll give you
the
that.
drummer from Fleetwood Mac's in it.
I'll give you
but
that.
It's Arnie, the hype just after Predator, and it's just a real kind of cheesy action, but one of the best head explosions in films actually in that movie. Actually, Shane, do you have that for sale? Yes, The Running Man.
No.
Oh well.
No. We'll be making a wish list here now.
That's
Shane.
exactly,
I have a few things I'm looking for.
Taking notes there.
But
That's okay.
has nothing to do with the book though.
We've gone through quite a bit there again now. You know, we were talking about some great actors and stuff there. One last piece of trivia.
Okay.
With the Wexford connection. And that's with the author Daniel Defoe. Nothing to with him.
Oh yeah.
Like when I've asked people, and they've all kind of looked at me going, who's Daniel Defoe? Who's one of his most famous books that he wrote later on in life is Robinson Crusoe. And of course, big version of Robinson Crusoe that came out was in 1954. Title role played by our very own Dan O'Herlihy, born in John Street.
Yep.
Yeah. John Street's a good place to be born.
Well, he was just a little bit down from John Street.
Damn.
But and he was actually nominated for the Oscar.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, he didn't win because the film came out a year later than it was expected. And the year that he was nominated for the Oscar, he was against James Mason for A Star Is Born, Bing Crosby for The Country Girl, Humphrey Bogart for the Kane Mutiny,
Mm.
and he lost to Marlon Brando for
Yeah.
On the Waterfront.
Yeah.
Could have been a contender, couldn't you, Dan?
He certainly was. I mean, when
He
you
certainly,
look at that list
Oh yeah.
that he was standing alongside of
Mm.
for it, and I remember reading an interview a long time back with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Talking about shooting Castaway,
Mm.
and he said he kept
Yeah.
referring back to that version to look at the character.
Yeah.
Castaway is, I mean, that's had a lot of impact on him. Castaway, Enemy Mine, there's a good one for
Yeah.
you. Robinson
That is
Crusoe
for
in
sale on
space.
Nerd Up, actually, Enemy Mine is.
Enemy
Yeah,
Mine,
it
Oh,
is, yeah.
there you go.
I've the Blu-ray.
But the one thing, like a lot of people don't realize, is the one part that everyone should remember Dan O'Hurley from.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
He
very
was brilliant in
disappointed.
Yeah.
Dick, you're fired.
that.
That's greatness.
And I mean, the thing is, though, what a family. There was
Yeah.
Dan O'Hurley.
Yeah.
When Dan was 2, they moved to Dunleary,
Yeah.
where his brother Michael was born, who went on to direct the A-Team, Hawaii Five-0.
Also worked on Darby O'Gill and the Little People. I just realised
Yeah,
that.
just keep that one to yourself.
I
Yeah,
love
just keep that
Darby.
one to
Yeah.
yourself.
And his son Gavin
Gavin, yeah.
was in Willow.
Will up. Yeah.
Everyone will remember him as the. It's nearly 9 o'clock. We can kind of use a bit of the drunk asshole from Superman.
Well, yeah, he actually defeated Superman. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
You know,
and as well, if anyone who ever saw the old Death Wish movies from the 80s,
Yeah.
he was in Death Wish
Yeah.
3. That's the best
Three?
Death Wish film. One
I've
out of
heard
40.
too.
And
VHS mine.
we'll stop to start going. And here we have to.
that's
We
it.
start turning into QVC here now. In a
But
minute.
We're not.
you know, that's the other thing with Dan O'Hurley is, and Michael definitely appreciate this, is apart from Michael Myers, the only other villain in a Halloween movie was played by Dan. Conal Cochran
yeah.
from Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Oh, wow.
And if you listen to his accent, it sounds a bit weird. He said he was a Wexford man who
Yeah.
spent a lot of time in Dublin, spent a lot of time in Hollywood, putting on a Cork accent. There you go.
He got his first big break. His first theatrical performance. He went up. He was working in the Abbey, but he got the part to play Macduff opposite Orson Welles in
Wow.
Macbeth.
Wow.
And what a lot of people don't know about him either is he studied architecture. He designed all the sets in the Orson Welles Macbeth.
My God, that's
Film.
brilliant. Yeah,
Wow.
excellent.
So
Well,
definitely definitely a lot in there for. Now we'll try and get back on track a little bit because we could talk about a lot of these all day.
We could go off the deep end very easy.
So
we have a bit.
we've got a couple of little bits here now. Movies that were better than the book.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think Godfather, if you read the book, it's quite pulpy, really, isn't it? And I know, like book 3, and it's like in the novel, book 3 is actually based out in the Middle East. Like a lot of the Godfather Part 2 stuff came from there, but like in the film, it was just between performances and just Francis Ford Coppola, it just added a lot more layers. It was almost Shakespearean, really.
Yeah.
I got an hour into it and went, nope. He hasn't seen it.
You have to think.
no, for someone who likes reviewing movies, I have to say when I hear a lot of hype around things, I tend to stay away from it.
You just don't watch the third one. You okay?
Haven't finished with the first one, yeah. Never mind the third one.
And then one, I think we're all kind of agreed on that the film was absolutely brilliant, which is
Oh yeah,
right here, and it's.
I actually watched that on Saturday night again for about the umpteenth million and 15th time, I would dare say. I just love that film. Everything about it is brilliant.
And
you know,
you're a big fan of Chuck Palahniuk, Wally, aren't you?
I am, and I do think the movie. I think Fincher nailed it. It's one of the most faithful adaptations I think you'd find anywhere. Sorry, choking up now. And I think one of the reasons for that is Palahniuk's writing style is so minimalist, and pretty much 90% of what's in the book got into the film. I know there's a slightly different ending in that carries on a little bit farther, and of course he brought out a sequel as a graphic novel, but he managed. I'm not sure if it would have worked. I'm not sure if the film would have worked as well. Now I know everyone talks about Brad Pitt, but Norton was
I'd
so,
agree with you there.
so
totally.
good.
I have to say, I'm not
totally
a Brad
agree with
Pitt fan. I'm
Yeah.
not an Ed Norton fan.
Hey,
But
Norton's
pulled it
brilliant.
off. He was very important because the
Yeah.
narrator in the book is
Yeah.
such a unique voice, and
Yeah.
Norton, he was able to pull it off. I
He
think, more or
actually
less.
makes the film.
Yeah.
I know the Brad Pitt
Yeah.
character kind of suits Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
You know, we're not arguing with that.
Oh, yeah,
But
no.
I think Edward Norton makes
Yeah,
the entire movie
100%.
fantastic.
I will say the scene stealer for me, Meatloaf.
Oh,
Yeah.
the hug.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we can't say what his comment was on him because you know it's just that's the watershed here.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, no, sorry, Steve, you go on.
No, I was going to say Palahniuk. Actually, I think he actually preferred the film to his book.
Yeah. Well, Palahniuk wrote the
Yeah.
book famously as a fuck you to the. I probably shouldn't say that.
No,
but,
it's worked
to
well.
the
And I was muting myself here.
That's
You
all right,
go ahead,
yeah,
go
we're after
on.
watershed,
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
after
yeah,
watershed.
Yeah.
to the publishing industry. He was Palahniuk was a fascinating character because he wrote a lot of Fight Club while he was doing a famous writers group circle in Seattle about minimalist writing. But he was working at the time as a diesel mechanic, and so he would be coming up with these stories while fixing trucks, and then going into this circle. And I think it was Tom Spanbauer ran this circle, and the way it worked was there was an inner table, an inner circle, and if you just arrived at the meeting, you would have to sit on the outside and work your way into the inner circle by what you wrote. And so he would play some of these stories out from Fight Club, so some of the scenes, and he got to sit at the front table. And but he still never thought they were going to publish it because it was basically wrote to get back at the industry for
No, that's what
dismissing
it does in quite a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does as well.
But the significance of Fight Club, I think, in years to come, it'll be judged as hugely important, both the movie and the film, to the zeitgeist, because it was written before. And when you read it now, you think it's of its time, but it was written before the culture wars, before the online, before the manosphere, before all of that.
Media.
And some people would even, I've heard critiques of Palahniuk where they try and say, well, you know, Palahniuk is this, he created this toxic masculinity, and which is not what he was doing. He was actually writing a commentary of this is coming, because there's a whole generation of men with no heroes, who are going just angry. What was the famous scene from both the book and the film? A whole generation pumping gas to earn money to buy stuff you don't need.
That you don't need.
Terribly paraphrased,
Yes.
but
I would like to give a shout out to Helena Bonham Carter on that as well.
Oh,
She
yeah.
was absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic. She's freak show and everything, I know, but she just so well suits it.
She wasn't a freak show in Room with a View.
But she was brilliant in it. I mean,
Yes,
she
yes,
really,
yes.
really offset it very, very well. But I mean, Norton did that, and of course, around the same time he did American History X. Both of them staggeringly good films.
Yeah.
Primal Fear as well. I forget.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah, that was very, very good.
I was-
I need to see Ed Norton back again, to be quite honest, which I think is a fabulous actor.
Yeah, certainly is.
It's one of those movies as well that I have to say that it's probably one of the best editing jobs
Yeah.
I've seen in a movie.
Even the inserts of them and the cigarette burns and all. is
Yeah,
excellent.
you know, it's all there, and it's all it's just so good.
An interesting part with the, you know, the way you were saying, like, and you wrote the book, like the FU to the book industry. Fincher was almost the same with film, like at that time, because there's even the part, you know, with the magnets going to video store. And what film did it go up? Alien 3. He had such a horrible time making that film, trying to get his vision in that. I think there's a good synergy there. So,
There's so many books that we can like. We could be talking for years on the subject here. That's just kind of touching the tip of the
There's
iceberg.
one more I'd like to mention, and we have it here because it wasn't adapted once, it wasn't adapted twice, but 3 times. 3 very different films, and that's I Am Legend by Richard Madison. And I you know, Steve would probably agree. I just think the book is so important. When you read it now, you probably miss when it was written. The character is basically an anti-hero. Maybe the first glorified anti-hero in Pulp Fiction, and you've got 3 different films. The first being Vincent Price and The Last Man on Earth, and then my favorite,
mine.
Charlton Heston, the Omega Man, and then Will Smith in I Am Legend.
Are we allowed to say Will Smith?
We're not banning them.
Just don't talk about his wife.
You could argue that all 3 films are good. All 3 have their place. My opinion would be The Last Man on Earth is closest to the source material.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the reason for that, I suppose we'd have to go into spoiler territory, but
Well, it's
Can I
like
just
what's the
ask
meaning
before
of
we
I
go
Am
now?
Legends? Yep,
Steve, are these part of your collection now, or are these available here?
they're part of my collection. But what I will say is, I've seen not only Richard Madison, but a lot of the books we mentioned here are actually, I'm looking at them on the shelves here in Red Books.
Yeah.
And like even like bad adaptations, I'm looking at an amazing book trilogy right there: Northern Lights, Subtle Knife, Amber Spyglass, Phil Pullman. So please come to Red Books for that. But yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. I think without a spoiler, what does the term "I Am Legend" mean?
Yeah.
In the book and in the Vincent Price movie, and in the Will Smith one,
I look, it's a fun movie. It's for a different generation, really, isn't it?
it's a shame though, because I think we can, like, you lose a lot of nuance when you make these Hollywood movies now. Whereas, and like, audiences can definitely hoover that up. There's no question about that.
No, I'll go with Heston.
Look at TV series now. Like, people can think for themselves, can think about things, and I think Hollywood just dumbs it down.
Yeah, and while series have got smarter, movies have got dumber.
There's more now that you have to explain everything for the audience instead of doing it. There's one trilogy of books that's also been made into a film. Just because we have one here, Silence of the Lambs, the Hannibal Lecter trilogy. Do I dare say now? Obviously, you've got Hannibal, you've got Silence of the Lambs,
Red Dragon,
and Red Dragon.
I have Red Dragon at home. I don't have the other.
But in the 80s, Manhunter.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I will have to say, for me, the only Hannibal Lecter is Brian Cox.
So good.
Now, Anthony Hopkins did such an amazing job.
No, I did, yeah.
I think, though, Brian Cox was more from the source material. It was more, well, I'm locked up here, so I'm just going to sit here.
Yeah.
And he played on your mind. Even watching him, I remember when I was watching it and kind of going, is he going to jump up and do something? Is he, you're waiting for it. And it actually made me go, no, I want to get the book to find out, what it was.
The other aspect of that in Manhunter, you've Tom Noonan as good as Ray Fiennes is in the Red Dragon film. Tom Noonan is just brilliant in Manhunter.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy scares the heck out of me on a good day. So, like, in Manhunter, he's really there. But yeah, I mean, those books are great, though, the Thomas Harris books. He's only, apart from Black Sunday, which was also adapted into a film, actually, with Fonda. Was it Peter? Henry? No, it was the other
Peter Henry.
We stumped him.
No, it was
You get there.
He'll get there eventually.
Bruce.
Keep watching. You'll see the steam coming out now.
Have a sweet.
But yeah, it was good. And then of course he did the new one as Murray. But the Hannibal books he was remembered for. So I think it's a great character.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they were one of my favorites. You anything honorable mentions there that you think are a book that should be a movie?
Well, a book that should be a movie, Nightfall, Isaac Asimov short story. Richard Silverberg, isn't it? Please tell me I'm right. So simple to make a film out of it. So simple. Absolutely so easy. And no one's done it. You know what I mean? Simple. Everybody's in brightness all the time. And the suns are going to set. What's going to happen? Everything's just going to go pear-shaped. So I mean, such an easy film. So you could make it now outside in the streets. You can do whatever you like with it. I think it's fantastic. And the other one I always thought, it's not very popular, I don't think, even though there was 6 of them, is the Amtrak Wars.
Oh yeah.
I think they're referring to the notes. I think somebody in about 2007.
Also available here
in Red Books.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. You
Red
see.
Books and the IrishBookshop.com. Is that right?
I'll take bribes later on, okay? just send me something else about it. Yeah, the Talisman Prophecy. I read that recently, 2007. That was going to be a TV series of the Amtrak Wars, which they shelved, which is a pity because reading the books, it is. But I suppose it's like everything. When you read a book, it's in your head, and you see what you see, and you see what you don't see. You know what I mean? And then when you make a film of it, it's totally different. It's like Apple TV with Foundation. I love those books. Isaac Asimov, absolutely, totally, absolutely. Love the books. The TV series, when it came out, I went, that's not like the books. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Now, the funny thing is, if you take your Isaac Asimov book head off, and I went back to it 6 months later, just to take it as a science fiction TV series, it's actually very, very good. But it's nothing like the book. Nothing like the book. To be honest, though, when you stop and think about it, the book wouldn't exactly make a good film.
It wouldn't.
No, not in the least.
Silo kind of had the same problem.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean, it's too big. Like,
I know. Steve wants to see Rendezvous with Rama.
Oh, I'd love to see that. There's also another one actually, Lost Boy. I think
that would make a very good film.
Good series.
That would make a good film.
Funny, at the start of the show, you were saying it'd make a good doorstop.
Oh well, I'm being nice now. I'm being nice.
He actually feels like he needs to be hit by holy water.
I've copies of that on the shelf here as well.
I think though, if there's one, I know we were talking off the air, Wally. There's one film that has been made. I think they actually made a TV series of it as well. A book. I don't think either of us will ever watch it because what loves Catch-22.
Never seen it.
Yeah, it looks like it'd be brilliant, but I've owned this DVD for 20 years.
And you still haven't watched this.
Love the book too much.
It's one book I always go back to. Maybe a yearly basis, and I wouldn't want to ruin it. But
Snowden and Orr is my favorite character. Milo Minderbender. Major.
Just before we finish up, then I think just for a couple of our viewers, obviously we were talking, Wally. Thanks for everything here tonight.
Thank you.
In Red Books, so much here. I mean, you spend a weekend here easily.
Absolutely.
But also, some people have been hearing a voice from behind the camera. Give us a smile there now, Shane. You're on, and give yourself a little plug there. That's his corner behind him.
This shiny corner is mine. Regarding movies, I have some foreign cinema, some Criterion collection, some VHSs, some classics, a lot of classic horror, anime, and things like that. But I also do video games and all kinds of other things. And if I can just say, just myself, I don't know if I'm allowed. It's right here in front of me. That happens all the time. This book for me, Let the Right One In, was so much better than the movie for the simple reason the side characters in it, you really get to know them personally and everything like that. But you plugged my business enough. But thanks, it was a pleasure being here.
Is this going to be expanding? Are you going to be getting in some more films and stuff?
Yeah. I'm always looking and keeping my out. And honestly, at home, it looks like the old Extravision. So it's only a certain amount of space there. But I'm building a website at the moment. There's more online and stuff like that. But
so Shane, just to check, so if anybody has old DVDs that they no longer want or anything at home,
they're always welcome here anyway.
Drop them in here and you'll sort out a new home for them.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Same with books.
Absolutely.
Do you have time to mention one last book? I know it's a favorite of
go on.
Oh, let's go then.
Go on.
I think this is a good example of where an adaptation is really good but really different, and that's Trainspotting by Irvine Welsh. The film is a cult classic, and rightly so. It's perfect. The book, though the film is based completely on the book with the same plot lines, the book was different. This is the first book that Welsh wrote. In fact, this book started off, I think, at 300,000 words or something, and he had to cull it down. So it's really a collection of stories that kind of connects. It's almost a short story collection with an ending tacked on. But it's fantastic, and there's a lot of stuff in the book that doesn't pop up in the film. And of course, he wrote 4 or 3 other books that are tied in with Trainspotting. They filmed one of them as T2. The book was called Porno. It's far better than T2. and Skag Boys was a prequel to this, which used a lot of the stuff that was cut. But it's fantastic. Both of them are works of art, and neither takes from the other. They're good companion pieces, I think. And the last thing I'd say is, if I wanted to see something adapted, maybe not as a movie, but certainly as a series, would be Karl Ove Knausgaard's Morning Star. I can't call it a trilogy because I've read the trilogy at this stage and it's open-ended. There might be a fourth one, there might be a fifth one, I'm not sure. But the premise is that a new star arrives in the sky and strange things start happening, including the dead coming back to life. But none of this concerns the characters really. They're going about their lives. There's affairs. There's the results of parents having extramarital affairs and children being born, and all of these kind of mundane activities, while in the background this end of the world event is happening. And it's a spectacular way to look at this apocalyptic thing, which I would be nervous that if Hollywood got it, they'd turn it into a 2-hour blockbuster.
Yeah,
you know, brainless.
Most like World War Z, yeah.
Yeah, but I
So it's a bit like Desperate Housewives, The Body Snatchers, all in one film.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely more than enough that we've gone through tonight.
I think what we've seen is, it's not just, you hear so much about the books better than the film, but I think, as Wally was saying, with Trainspotting, the really good ones is where you get the story and you can watch the film and you read the book and get something different from each. That's where it really works best.
As you say on there, again, going back to Trainspotting, is like, okay, I've seen the film. Now I haven't read the book, I've read the play. Wrote the play version. But it's like, okay, I can get even more out of it again. Now that I've seen the film, I kind of go, I want to find out more about these characters. There's more in the book.
The film played such an important role because it introduced a lot of people who might have watched that film when they were teens to reading. I know people who went to secondary school with me when this was out, and they would never have read a book for pleasure. And Trainspotting was the book that brought him in. And Welsh as a whole world, because all of his novels pretty much connect in some way. So a character from Trainspotting will pop up in crime. A character from crime will pop up in something else, you know. And there's that whole universe there. And the film is like a gateway drug that brings you into that. So
that's actually a very good point. Just before we finish up, I say one film that's made you want to read the book that you saw first. Wally gave us Trainspotting there. Another one, or Steve?
You're both thinking, because I'm going to be a minute.
I remember Get Shorty. I remember when I saw Get Shorty, and Elmore Leonard's now one of my favorite writers. And
I don't know. I don't know.
For me, it was probably. I wasn't a big fan of the film, but The Perfect Storm.
Oh yeah,
made me want to go and read the book. And the book is, there's actually in the book only one chapter is actually about the fishing boat. Everything else is about things that happened 100 years ago. And stuff like that.
Wow.
And that would be one that I would actually class as, I thought the book was a lot better than it.
That's it,
So I think that's enough from us anyway. I think some people are definitely want to go home, and I think anybody who's at home is going, well, you lot, please shut up.
Shut up.
So everybody, Wally, again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Absolute pleasure to have you, and even more of a pleasure to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you, Red Books, Peter Square, come down. It's an experience, if anything. And there's plenty here to pick from. Want to check Steve's pockets now going out?
Yeah, definitely.
No, we're keeping Shane stuff here.
And we've got a great selection from Shane. But ladies and gentlemen, from us, that's it. Good night, and thank you for